Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. All right, so first up for D&D today, I have my all-black matte Help It's Again mug with the tree in a little bitty hand. Where's the little bitty hand? There's a little bitty hand on the other side of it. And I am having some of this Unplug Calming Blend tea from Econ Tea. If you're watching the video of this, it is pretty obvious, but if you are listening to it, it might not be quite so obvious. I came directly from work and realized that I needed to shoot. So I am in stage blacks right now, top to bottom, in hat, shirt, pants, shoes, all of it. So that's what you're looking at right now. And that's also why I'm doing this, because it is at the end of the day, and I am going to go to bed after this, which I'm kind of excited about because I'm very tired right now, but that's okay. Let's get into what we are actually talking about today. Today we are talking about the optional actions that are available in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Now, it's a fairly common joke slash truth, if you will, in the Dungeons and Dragons community that DMs don't really read the DMG. That's not a real thing that people do. And so I have taken the liberty of going back through it again, because I, on the other hand, did actually read it, because I am one of those suckers. But I went back through and I started checking on some of the optional stuff in it, and I have found quite a few different things. So I'm actually probably going to do this in like series here. So today we are talking specifically about action options that are presented in the DMG that are alternate actions or additional actions or sort of whatever you want it to be. For those weird situations that you might get into where a player wants to do something, there are actually written rules for them. Just most people don't actually know about them. So let's go ahead and let's talk about what they are. We're just going to go in order of the way that they are presented. So sorry if your favorite one is last. I guess. I don't really know what else to say about that one there. The first one is actually one that has come up a weird amount for me in my games that I run, and I feel like it is one that actually people run into most often, maybe? Kind of? I don't know. It is climbing onto a bigger creature. I feel like so often, as soon as a player is presented with a giant or something particularly big like a dragon or a purple worm or something like that, there's always at least one player, one of the fighter, the rogue, the barbarian, whatever, one of the marshals, usually, almost never a spellcaster unless it's a warlock like a hexblade or something like that, but not the point, that wants to climb on it. They want to go with it. They want to do stuff in its space. Apparently, there's actually rules written for that. Who thought? Who would have thought? There we go. But let's talk about it real quick here. Let's talk about the actual like effects that it has. The idea is to sort of circumvent the grappling problem that comes up when they're facing down a huge, etc. creature, because you can really only grapple one size category up. So they give you sort of the option to have your medium-sized creatures, which is pretty much everybody, small-sized creatures, which is pretty much everybody else in terms of player characters, to be able to climb onto things that are size categories bigger than them. They have it listed as, quote-unquote, suitably larger, which I don't really know how you're going to define suitably larger. That's kind of up to the DM in the moment, I would say. So, yeah. Let's talk about how you actually do this. This is interesting because they end up treating the suitably larger creature as terrain for the purposes of this action, which is an interesting sort of change. But the way that this ends up working is that the attacker, quote unquote, you use an action to actually do this. It does not necessarily substitute an attack. You have to use an action technically to do this. You, as the attacker, will say the offensive person, the smaller one that is trying to climb onto the back of something bigger, because you have made interesting life choices to lead you to this point, needs to make a athletics or acrobatics check contested by an acrobatics check from the target, which is interesting because if you think about, we'll say a grapple check, because that is the direct comparison, really. It is your athletics against their athletics or acrobatics. So this sort of flips it And usually your large, massive sort of creatures are not going to have great dexterity, and in turn not great acrobatics. So having this be an acrobatics check is actually beneficial for you in theory to be able to get onto the back of this thing. If you succeed in the contest, you are then able to climb onto its body and move about in its space, traveling with it when it moves. You treat any amount of movement that you use while on it as difficult terrain, so you move at half speed while you are climbing up all over the bigger creature. Let's see, am I missing anything important? Essentially, they can get you off in a similar way to how you would get somebody off with a grapple. Like, it's a knock you off, scrape against a wall, grab and throw. They have to use an action most of the time to be able to get you away from them, but you sort of go with them as you do. The other important thing that actually makes this very interesting and good rule is that while you are in the target space, you have advantage on attack rolls against the target, which is great. So players, if you're watching this, argue this with your dungeon master. It's in chapter 9 of the DMG. The number of people that have actually read it, pretty low, but you might be able to actually get away with something on that one. Don't actually argue with your DM. If they don't want to allow it, don't do it. I'm not here to make DM's lives harder. They do too much already. Next up is the disarm action. This one actually can be used in place of a weapon attack. So if you take the attack action, you can use one of them as a disarming attack, essentially. Not the same as a Battle Master's disarming attack, but it is the disarm action that replaces a single weapon attack, so says the thingamabob here. The rules book, that's what it's called. You can use a weapon attack to knock a weapon or another item from a creature's grasp. You need to make a athletics or dexterity check against... you need to make an attack roll. Sorry, I misread that. You need to make an attack roll against the target's athletics or acrobatics. So you are making an attack roll, which is obviously your strength or dexterity plus your proficiency bonus, presumably, against what is potentially a non-proficient skill for the other party, which would be giving you an immediate sort of advantage on this. If you win, if you, the attacker, win that contest, the attack doesn't cause any sort of damage or effect or anything like that other than the creature drops whatever it's holding. This is good if you're going against something that probably has like a dual wielder kind of feat. If you are trying to get away from something, actually if you make the attack action and you make one of them a disarming attack and then you run away, the opportunity attack they're going to get on you is going to be an unarmed strike as opposed to a full-blown weapon attack, which is pretty solid, honestly, as like a get out of jail free kind of thing. They then obviously drop their weapon. I think I finished that sentence, but if I didn't, I did again there. The attacker, you, have disadvantage on that roll if the target is holding the item that you want them to drop with 2 or more hands, if it's got more hands than 2. It also has, you, the attacker, have advantage on that check if the thing you are trying to disarm is smaller than you, as in the creature is smaller than you, and then vice versa is also true. If it is larger than you, you have disadvantage on the check. So if you as a human person have a sword and you're trying to disarm a halfling of their dagger, you have advantage on that check. If you as a human person with a sword are trying to disarm an ogre with a club, even if it's only one-handed, you have disadvantage on that because it's bigger than you. Make sense? Makes sense. Sounds good. That one actually, I read that and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good because of the whole ability to sort of negate an opportunity attack down to a pretty minimal sort of threat, honestly, all things considered. This next one is weird, and I'm gonna say that coming out of the gate with it because it took me a while and rereading it several times to even kind of understand it, and I'm not convinced that I do yet. The next one up is called Mark, which, yes, is just the name of a dude, but I think I'm too funny. This is specifically more of an optional rule than an action option, I would say. It's interesting to me that it's in this specific space because of the way that it works. This does not require an action of any kind. This doesn't use up an action or even an attack. This works in conjunction with a melee attack. So the way that this works is that when you make a melee attack against a target, you can also mark it, quote unquote mark. Marking it means that until the end of your next turn, you the attacker, any opportunity attack that you make against the marked creature has advantage. So you are giving yourself advantage on an opportunity attack against a creature for free. Just for free. That opportunity attack does not expend your reaction if you were to make it. However, if you can't make the attack if there's anything preventing you from taking reactions. So while it doesn't burn your reaction, if you have, if you're incapacitated for some reason, or you are under the effect of like shocking grasp or slow, you can't take that reaction. You are still limited to a single opportunity attack per turn. So this, again, it's weird to me that it's here because it doesn't require you to do anything other than just say it. So don't go run into your DMs and try and make them let you use this because it's not gonna work. It's just not. So the way that let me run through this one more time just to make sure we're all on the same page here. The way that it works is you hit something with an opportunity or with a melee attack on your turn. You declare that you are marking this creature. I assume you can only have one creature marked at a time. That's just sort of what would make sense to me. Until the end of your next turn, you have advantage on opportunity attacks against that creature. Making that opportunity attack does not expend your reaction. However, if you can't take reactions, you can't make that opportunity attack. And you are limited to a single opportunity attack per turn. Which means that if you are fighting a legendary creature, we'll say, and you mark it, then it moves away from you, so you swing at it, and then it uses a legendary action later to move back through your space on a different turn, you can hit it again and still not be burning your reaction. I don't really understand this one. I don't really know why it's here. It seems weird. And the only reflection of it that I can think of anywhere in the like standard core rules that like players are given is in the Cavalier with Unwavering Mark. And I think that might just be a name thing. I don't know that it actually is similar at all. I'm pretty sure it's not actually, or it's kind of it's probably kind of similar, but it doesn't make any sense. Okay, it just doesn't. So if you want to try and use this one, you have to tell your dungeon master ahead of time because it will screw with the action economy left, right, and center, and that's just kind of the nature of what it is. It doesn't make sense as an ability to me, but hey, if some tables want to use it, some tables want to use it, and I'm not here to tell you how to have fun. Next up is Overrun, which is exactly what it sounds like. Overrun is an action that you can take as an action or a bonus action. Cool stuff. I think, yeah, the next three, all three of them. Oh no. Two of the next three are actions or bonus actions, which is pretty cool. I like that. But with Overrun, when you try to move through a hostile creature's space, you can try to force its way through by overrunning that hostile creature. As an action or a bonus action, you can make an athletics check contested by an athletics check. If you are larger than the creature you're trying to overrun, you have advantage. If you are smaller, you have disadvantage. If you win the contest, you can just move through the space of the creature. That's it. That's what it does. I guess this is good if you're like a barbarian or something and you don't really have anything you can do with your bonus action after you've started raging, and it would take, you know, like, a full like 10 or 15 feet of movement to get around a thing. You can just like blast through it. This doesn't really negate opportunity attacks or anything like that. So it really is just a straight line kind of thing. It just gets you from point A to point B as fast as possible, assuming you don't have a bonus action or an action that you want to be using on that turn for whatever reason. Still kind of a cool mechanic, kind of a good thing to like keep in the back of your head. I think that most DMs would just be like, okay, make an athletics check against this athletics check, and they wouldn't really count as part of the action economy, maybe just part of a move. But I don't know. That's more what I would do, but, you know, again, optional rules are optional rules for a reason. Next up, and second to last, we have Shove Aside. This one is a variant on the Shove rule, and by variant, I mean it's an add-on to it, essentially. So the Shove rule in the player's handbook is that you can attempt to shove a creature back 5 feet. And it is very specific about saying you can shove them backwards. Shove Aside, specifically, is an attempt to shove something to the side. Something to the side. It's the same kind of contest. You have disadvantage on your athletics check to shove something aside, presumably because it's going to be a lot harder instead of just like body checking someone to grab and pull and move to the side sort of thing. But if you succeed on the check and you beat the contest, you can move the target to you can move it 5 feet to any space that you can reach, essentially. So you can like move it like way around you, essentially, which is not bad. Honestly, if you are trying to get somebody out of the way of something, or you're up next to something and you're out of movement and you're like, you know, parallel, that's the word I'm looking for, to a cliff face or something, you can grab them and try and throw them off of it with the Shove Aside action, which is pretty solid. But it is a hyper-specific kind of use thing, I think. But that might just be me. I don't know. Let me know. Finally, we come to Tumble, which is like Overrun, but for the nimble people in the world. Tumble is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of like Halfling Nimbleness, but as an action or bonus action. You can, as an action or bonus action, attempt to make an acrobatics check contested by the acrobatics check of whatever the hostile creature is. If you win the contest, you can move through its space on this turn. Again, almost identical to Overrun, but instead, it's for the nimble people of the world. Essentially, you are going either athletics and athletics with Overrun, or acrobatics and acrobatics with Tumble. Not a bad option, for sure, for your, rogue, who is likely not going to be the beefiest person in the universe, or your monk, who is not going to be the beefiest person in the universe. I don't know. I'm not playing your characters. Do what you want to do with them. But not bad options in terms of just getting a little bit more movement. That is all of the additional action options in Chapter 9 of the DMG, the Dungeon Master's Workshop. This is actually a pretty cool section, like the whole of Chapter 9. Like I said, I think I'm going to turn it into kind of a series where I go over different parts of it, because it actually is pretty cool. It is one of those sections of the DMG that doesn't really feel bogged down, but it feels like it adds a lot of random superfluous information for no discernible reason. And I kind of like that, because I like random stuff being thrown in for no real reason. Ending that, moving on to the... I need to stop hitting this microphone with my hands. Moving on to the streams / shows / podcasts / whatever you want to call them that we've got coming out today, Monday. There's a bunch of them, like a bunch of them. Here's my full list for Monday. I don't know if you can actually see that because it's so whited out. There we go. We have, in no particular order, the Paper Dungeon, Flavor City, which is my show. It's on this here YouTube channel. If you're listening on podcast, you should check it out. It's fun. So anyway, Paper Dungeon, Flavor City, Chromatic Dice, Beyond the Realms, Unprepared Casters, Greetings Adventurers, Bards of New York, Hapless Heroes. Oh man, Ayuen Adventures, AIUEN Adventures. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. I should probably figure that out. Cast Party, 3 Black Halflings, Hello from the Magic Tavern, Greetings Adventurers, King Leo D&D, Antiheroes Anonymous, and they don't start until next week, Monday, but I want to plug them because good friends of me, of the show, etc., blah, blah, blah. The Tabletop Tavern kicks off their second full campaign next Monday, so get excited for that. But check out some of these other shows that are happening on Monday. On today, at various times. There's plenty of D&D out there in the world for us to go ahead and consume, as, people are wont to do. That is everything that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for making me part of your morning routine, and thank you in particular to my patron. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you are able to and would like to support the show, there is a link to my Patreon in the description, regardless of if you are on YouTube or podcast. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in. That is everything I have for you guys. Don't forget, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.